$83 billion. That is not an acquisition. That is the total liquidation of Hollywood history. Netflix just bought the rights to your entire childhood, but they left one massive piece of the company behind to die. And nobody's talking about why. They claim this is about entertaining the world, but the financial documents reveal a much darker reality. There is a specific regulatory trigger hidden in this deal, a poison pill that the Trump administration is already looking at. If this trigger is pulled, Netflix doesn't just lose the deal, they could lose everything. As dramatic as this title sounds, the death of cinema is here. I am not really exaggerating. This might be truly the death of cinema as we know it. So this is what was executed, the Vulture Protocol. And this was a precision attack by Netflix. Netflix is not to be underestimated. Remember, these are the guys that came up with the idea when everyone was going to the physical stores to rent out movies and whatnot. They were like, forget it. We'll just email it to you, right? They were figuring that out. When the internet was capable of handling streaming, they were the ones who were the first mover in this field. Everybody was laughing at them. Everyone was using them as tools for movies. So this is what was happening, right? So while everyone didn't understand what was actually going on, essentially Netflix will buy the rights of movies that film producers, they really didn't have any way of using this. They had whole catalogs, but if the movie has already been in the theater, the DVDs have already come out. After that, what do? There wasn't really anything to do with this. Yes, you could sell it to the TV, but this was another lucrative area. So they sold it to Netflix, and then Netflix, the rights, right? It was usually a temporary thing for a certain period of time, years or whatever. And this would be streamed, right? Then Netflix came with streaming. The big guys didn't really care about that. And then Netflix grew too big to ignore, and then now they started playing catch up. Now, they did actually initially succeed quite well, but I think with this move, Netflix solidified its position. Initially, I was bearish on Netflix long term, but now they have really played an interesting game. Netflix isn't buying Warner Bros. They are butchering it. They are surgically extracting the organs, HBO, DC, Harry Potter Studios, and leaving the rotten corpse, think CNN, TNT Sports, etc., behind for shareholders to deal with. Now, granted, shareholders would actually benefit quite a bit from this deal. They're going to be paid quite a bit of money. Keep in mind, Warner Bros. Was in a lot of debt whilst Netflix wasn't. So actually, Netflix is taking on a problem. And why are they taking on this problem? More on that in a bit. This wasn't a merger. It was an organ harvest. And so this is what they're getting, right? Now, this indicates one of the reasons why the risk actually Netflix is taking, right? So Netflix acquires Warner Bros. Studio plus streaming HBO. So studios plus streaming HBO, 72 billion deal financed with 59 billion of debt. So 2 to 3 billion annual cost savings per 3 years. So this is talking about Netflix being able to save costs. And the reason for that is because this is the IP that they locked in, right? Harry Potter, DC Universe, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings. I mean, these have cult followings. These are massive names. Absolutely insane. Friends, I remember Friends was getting off Netflix, I believe, and then now it's back is what I heard in the news. The Big Bang Theory, Looney Tunes, The Matrix. I mean, think about that. How many spin-offs? The Matrix, there'll be many, many more movies in the future. The Matrix is a cultural phenomenon, so this is not going to go anywhere anytime soon. Monsterverse and etc. So they're getting quite a bit of IP. And although this is a big reason, it's not the only reason. Everyone thinks that DOJ will block this because it's too big. Frankly, I don't think so. Simply put, because of this administration, they are about pumping numbers, not letting things crash. The glitch, this deal actually has a higher chance of passing than a Comcast or Paramount merger. Why? Because horizontal mergers, studios buying studios are illegal, but vertical mergers, streamer buying supplier, are a legal gray area that Netflix is exploiting. So it is definitely looking like the deal is through. Everybody is saying that the merger has already happened, but I mean, I'm not in the legal, details. So perhaps some things can be reversed or some new stipulations can be implemented, but it does look like this deal is truly over and done with. So there does appear there was a kill switch within this thing. So Netflix didn't pay $83 billion for Batman. They paid a premium to ensure no other company like Apple, Amazon could ever build a Netflix killer. They didn't buy assets to grow, they bought them to delete the possibility of a competitor ever existing. So as you can see here, according to this graph here, Netflix owns about 21% of the market share, and then Max is number 2, and this is what Netflix has acquired. So assuming this actually happens, so initially Amazon was actually beating Netflix. Look at that, right? And think about this, the password sharing thing was canceled, and then people started buying subscriptions on their own. So this boosted numbers. So they needed a new thing to boost things for shareholders, because think about this, right? They're always worrying about the next quarter, what they're going to present. There's lots of pressures on these companies. And well, now with the acquisition of this, Netflix becomes the number 1 by far, right? It's not even close, somewhere close to 34%, while Amazon, the second biggest now, will be 22%. I mean, this is a dramatic escalation. I don't know how Amazon is really going to compete against this. And if you see this graph here, it actually shows you why Netflix is doing this, right? So as you can see, this is from Q1 2020 to Q3 2025. So this is recent data. And obviously take it all with a grain of salt, and you can find Just Watch. These are the guys who came up with this data. And as you can see here, Netflix was declining in market share, and Amazon Prime Video was actually escalating, because obviously Prime has linked it to their other services, right? And this gives an edge to Prime, to Amazon. Although I've never actually subscribed to Prime Video, but I think it gives you the general benefits of Prime. So it's very hard to beat that for Netflix. But now that they've acquired HBO Max, right? So HBO Max was definitely rising, and it's right around between second and third place. It goes back and forth. But essentially, number 1, or the previous number 1, has acquired the number 3, the one after them. And now, I mean, who's going to be able to beat that, right? The only person that can beat that now is if Netflix messes things up for themselves. So I think these are the 3 scenarios that could pop up, okay? So it's one of these 3 scenarios that I see happening right here. So either number 1, same old, nothing changes, okay? Nothing changes, everything remains the same. So the content remains the same. They keep the 2 separate apps and just keep the same content as well, and the prices remain the same. Obviously they go up every year, but you get the gist. The trend continues as it has always happened. Frankly, I think this is the least likely scenario. The other scenario, and I think this is what most people actually believe to be the most likely scenario, is things become worse. So the apps merge, but the content is effectively the same. It's just on the one app now. And because they are pretty much a monopoly, I mean, you can't go anywhere else to watch Harry Potter if you're into that stuff and all this other content. So you have to use the app. You have to go on their app. And thus, because of this monopoly pricing power that they then gain, right? Then they can increase the price. So now we have to pay more for effectively the same content, right? And so if you think about it, one app costs this much, and then the other app costs that much. Instead of them adding, right, like that, they do times, right? Instead of plus, they do times, and now you're paying an exorbitant amount of money that doesn't really correlate to this, to this other app. So that is the worst case scenario, and this is what most people are guessing. Most people guess that this is sadly what was going to happen, which is why we don't allow monopolies to form, right? And it's not a full monopoly, but it's definitely the closest thing to it. I mean, if they acquire one other company, it's pretty much over. Better deal, which is, people think unlikely, is the content goes up. So Netflix is going to make better content. Do you believe that? How many shows has Netflix ruined, right? As people say. And the price either goes up reasonably as expected, rather than at times it's just an addition of the cost of 2 apps into one, or the price remains the same, which would be a miracle. So this is pretty much, this would be the best case scenario. This is the most likely scenario, the worst deal, and the same old, forget it. Things will change. So tell me what you think. Do you think that this is a good idea? The fact that Netflix is acquiring Warner Bros. Is this going to be better? Is this going to remain the same old? Do you think it's going to be a worse deal? Or do you think that we as the user are going to get a better deal? Definitely let me know in the comment section below. And I want to give a special shout out to the Patreons. Salute, soldier.